Arceus created the Pokemon of Myth in order to guard over the domains of time, space, and antimatter. However, I don't think that this recount of history is complete. The evidence scattered throughout the games point towards there being a fourth member, and I believe that this fourth guardian was the original dragon that later split into Reshiram, Zekrom, and Kyurem. We know there was once a fourth guardian, as each of the creation dragons has a secondary typing that aligns with the state of matter. Dialga's steel typing ties it to solids, Palkia's water typing connects it to liquids, and Giratina's ghost typing links it to gases. But none of the three represent plasma in any shape or form. This fourth member would have embodied the aspect of energy, and how do we know that it was the original dragon who once represented plasma? Well, the first hint that is given to us is in the numbers themselves. The Pokemon of Myth actually have some really interesting statistics that show their correlation to Reshiram and Zekrom. All of their respective base stats total up to 680, with each individual value being shifted around based on the Pokemon themselves. Reshiram most closely resembles Dialga in terms of stats, having only their defense and special defense stats flipped. Zekrom, though, has a very different stat spread compared to any one of them, being the only one of the 5 to have an attack stat above 120. However, Kyurem's base stats are a jumbled mess compared to the others. Both of its defenses are lower than any of the other 5, and its attack stats are balanced between that of Reshiram and Zekrom. Kyurem's strange stat distribution, as well as the Tao Trio's ability to wield plasma, can be explained through their origins. There are 2 interpretations on how this trio of dragons came to be. The first one is that Reshiram and Zekrom were once part of a single, powerful dragon who was used by twin heroes to create the Unova region. However, the brothers each sought something different in life, truth for the older brother and ideals for the younger. Their conflicting views caused them to fight over which side was right, and in response, the single dragon split into 2. Reshiram fought for truth, while Zekrom for ideals. In this first interpretation, Kyurem was believed to be different than the 2. It was thought that it came from an icy meteor crash landing into a place called Giant Chasm. However, while this was thought to be true in the first games, the sequel gave us a different theory, and it's the one I'll be referencing to throughout the video. Drayden tells the player of an old legend that conflicts with Kyurem's origins. It states that when the original dragon split into Reshiram and Zekrom, a third dragon was created from the leftovers, Kyurem. This is then further supported by its Pokédex entry stating that it's waiting for a hero to fill its missing parts with ideals or truth. And then it's shown to be true when it undergoes fusion with either Reshiram or Zekrom. Reshiram wields white-hot fire, while Zekrom controls electricity. Together they symbolize 2 of the most common natural plasmas, but they also represent the 2 dualities in Taoism. Reshiram, who embodies yang, uses its powers to actively burn anyone who ignores the truth. Its design was made to be light, airy, graceful, and feminine, which actually directly contrasts the traditionally male role yang plays in Taoism. Zekrom, on the other hand, embodies yin. The lightning it produces is fast and dynamic, slamming particles together with force. Its design was made to be tough and masculine in order to contrast both Reshiram's design as well as the female role yin usually plays. So while both control plasma to a certain extent, they don't control it in its purest form. Kyurem, in contrast, is said to possess a power exceeding even Reshiram's and Zekrom's, and that makes sense, as a dragon designed to control pure plasma would logically need to surpass the raw elemental power of fire and electricity. Furthermore, Kyurem's connection to absolute zero, which is the absence of all thermal energy, can be seen as the inverse pole of plasma, allowing the original Kyurem to control it, mirroring the concept of Wuji in Taoist philosophy. So when the twin aspects of Reshiram and Zekrom were split apart, Kyurem's original balanced form became unstable and left behind an empty husk, losing its place among the pantheon of creation dragons. That also means the Kyurem we meet in Black and White is just a fractured remnant of that once whole plasma core. While we are able to use the DNA splicers to see parts of how Kyurem once looked like, the full appearance of the original dragon's complete form is unknown to us. Or is it? Well, yeah, mostly anyway. In the manga we do get to see the original dragon's silhouette. We're briefly shown a black and white winged 2-horned figure, which honestly isn't a whole lot to go off of, but it's better than nothing. If you've got some speculations what it might have actually once looked like, then do leave a comment. And while you're down there, like the video and subscribe to the channel. I really do appreciate every single one of you. The in-game evidence supporting our theory of Kyurem being the member that embodies energy is actually pretty plentiful. In Unova, there's a location called the Cave of Being. After you become the champion in White 2 and Black 2, this very cavern is visited by the Lake Trio, Uxie, Mesprit, and Azalf. Now, why would Sinnoh's psychic avatars of knowledge, emotion, and willpower be drawn to Unova? Well, it gets much easier to explain if the individual pieces of the energy creation dragon were to reside in this very region. Since the Lake Trio were first created by Arceus in order to calm and control Dialga, Palkia, and in our theoretical case, the original dragon, it would make sense if they came to Unova because they were looking for the lost member. This is then further supported by their individual actions. After you encounter the trio in the cave, they fly off to various places, making you run across the whole damn country trying to catch them. Thanks, Nintendo. Uxie is found in Nacrene City, right in front of their museum, the exact same building where the light or dark stone used to be found in. Well, before it was taken away by the player like 2 years prior to these events. Anyway, Mesprit heads to the top of Celestial Tower, a place to bury deceased Pokemon. Meanwhile, Azelf gets itself lost on Route 23. So sure, I could pull the connection of Mesprit mourning the loss of the original dragon, as it's the avatar of emotion, and Azelf appearing in the route beside the giant chasm where Kyurem is first found, since it's the avatar of willpower. But I feel as though those two last ones are stretching it in terms of evidence, so I think I'll leave that up to you to decide. Then there are the creation orbs themselves. The Adamant, Lustrous, and Griseous orbs are tied directly to the Sinnoh trio, and in Black and White's postgame, Ghetsis was implied to have something planned in relation to them, possibly using the orbs to reconnect Kyurem with its two counterparts, but this never came to fruition, and instead he just ordered his subordinates to hand them over to the player. How generous of him. Coincidentally, these orbs also reappear within Unova's Dragon Spiral Tower in the sequels, the same place where the other stone was found in the first games. It's also said that this tower is where legendary Pokemon are created and then subsequently slumber, so it's quite fitting to have a part of the original dragon originally created by Arceus to be found here. While we're on the topic of smooth round stones, the Generation 5 games actually had an unused item called the Godstone in its code, which looks extremely similar to both of the other rocks. Since it wasn't ever used, we can't be sure on whether this was a sort of prototype for the Dark and Light versions, or if this Godstone was actually meant for Kyurem. But for the sake of this theory, I will go on to say that it was, but never utilized for either another Legends game like ZA, or meant as a hidden teaser to those who data mine the game's code. Now, to wrap up the section about Arceus' balls, I would like to answer the question of where's the original dragon's orb? While there isn't one found in any of the games, I believe that by combining the light, dark, and godstones through something like an alchemical process, you would get the orb associated with the energy aspect. Why alchemical process? Well, that has something to do with the fact that the Tao trio actually has some pretty close connections to alchemy itself, with Reshiram embodying sulfur or spiritual wisdom, Zekrom embodying mercury or the active force, and Kyurem embodying salt, the grounding force which binds the other two. I actually thought of another smaller theory that might be worth mentioning. While I was comparing the Tao trio's moveset, I saw a little bit of a trend. What's if the move Tri-Attack originated from this member of the Creation Dragons? It's not that far-fetched, especially with each of them learning a part of the move. Reshiram learns Flamethrower, Kyurem learns Ice Beam, and Zekrom learns Thunderbolt. But hey, that's just a theory. A game theory. Anyway, I think I hit all of the vital points for the theory, but maybe I missed something important. If so, then write a comment down below so that I can pin it to the top for others to see. If you want more theories like this, then subscribe to the channel.